Right, and we are live.
Well, hello and welcome to the Awareness Task Force meeting for the Human Rights Commission. I'm Mike Waters and I'm the chair of the Task Force for Awareness. I live in Ward 7 and my pronouns are they and them, and I will pass it to David.
Hello, my name is David Reinholtz. I'm a resident of Polk County and my pronouns are he and him, and I'll pass it to Tricarico.
I'm Tricarico. My pronouns are they and them. I'm a resident of Ward 2, and I will pass it to Kathy.
Hi, my name is Kathy Ostran-Funchen. I'm a resident of South Salem. My pronouns are she and her. And Kelly, that leaves you.
My name is Kelly and I work in the budget office for the city day to day, and I'm filling in for Gretchen tonight. I live in Ward 3.
Excellent, and thank you for our tech support tonight from Bria. We do have a quorum. Oh, do we have any public comment? Probably not.
No.
All right, we do have a quorum, so if everyone got a chance to look at the minutes, if you didn't, you can have a moment to take a look at them now. They're pretty short, and I would take any motions to approve them.
I just have one quick comment on the minutes.
Yeah.
There's one on the second page. It says Indigenous Peoples Day is coming up. The anniversary of George Floyd's death is coming up. And I think this is from the July meeting, so that doesn't make sense. I think it might be just a piece that didn't get deleted.
I think you're correct. I'll go ahead and make a note of that. And if everything else looks okay, what you guys could, a friendly motion, I would say, would be to adopt the minutes as amended.
I can go ahead and make that motion. Move to adopt the minutes of the July 28th meeting as amended.
I can second that.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent. Communication plan development is our next topic, and Gretchen provided me with a really nice email. It doesn't look like everybody got it, just me and Kelly. But I can read it out to you because it's not that much. We have been able this year to communicate with some regularity because we had things like the survey that were content that we were putting out. And Gretchen went ahead and just kind of put together some big things to that are happening kind of throughout the year that could lead our communication plan development for maybe the rest of this year as well as next year. That includes in January, of course, is MLK Day. February is Black History Month. April, one idea was to do a volunteer recognition to recognize volunteers that are in human rights. May is Asian Pacific Islander celebrations are typically in May. June includes Juneteenth, the Sick Parade, and World Beat. June also is Pride, and here in Salem, there is Pride in August as well. We like to double up on Pride here in Salem. August or September is typically when Micronesian Islander community event is. November is our Transgender Day of Awareness, and December is Human Rights Day. I thought that was a really nice, almost all of the months have something kind of baked into them that's already happening in the community that we could highlight out in our communications, as well as the activities of the commission, which I think in 2022 will hopefully include another survey, as well as the Safe Spaces project that's being developed by the LGBTQIA group. Wanted to just kind of hear your thoughts as a committee on that kind of list of topical things, and then what topics you think would be good additions to the plan.
Mike, this is David. One thing I would add is September 15th starts
Hispanic Heritage.
Heritage Month.
You're right.
Through October, right? Isn't it through October 15th?
I know it goes through October. I'm not sure exactly what day.
Okay.
in October.
And there's a specific reason it starts on the 15th. It recognizes a specific historical event. Do you remember, David? Yeah, I don't quite remember, but I know it's a maybe an independent, one of the country's independence days was on the 15th, but that's why it starts mid-month anyway. One thing I don't see on our list is anything in the abilities community. And I know they have recognitions throughout the year. It might be worth asking like Krista on the mission or others if they know of what those recognitions are. Because I do see a lot of communities represented here. I don't see anything from the Indigenous community either. And especially with our locale being on Indigenous land, that seems like something we might want to explore.
Maybe Indigenous Peoples Day.
Yeah, which is
That's coming up, right?
yeah, it replaces the day that we won't even need to name.
Right. I was gonna say. Yeah.
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 So that might be another, and that's October, which is nice because we don't
Right.
have anything in October. So we could definitely use that opportunity to maybe highlight our Indigenous community here in Salem. I wonder if there's anything planned.
I know that there's an event at the Capitol. I don't recall if last year with COVID there was one, but I do feel like historically there's been an event at the Capitol. Yeah. And Bria is a knowledge of all, and she IM'd me and said that the September 15th date is significant. It's the anniversary of independence for multiple Latin American countries: Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua.
That's what it is. I knew it was something like that.
See, Bria is
Awesome.
jack of all trades. Just
Awesome.
telling you.
It's just because I can Google on the side.
Oh, you should have just been like, yeah, I have all my dates together.
So Mike, November 1st is the first day of American Indian Heritage Month.
Oh. It's excellent.
I'm looking up to see an event on Indigenous Peoples Day. So it looks like on Monday, October 11th from 2 to 6, there's an event at the Capitol by Indigenous Now. Salem Indigenous Now is the group.
Oh. Oh, that's on the day, Shakarico.
Yeah, it's on Monday, October 11th.
Okay. So maybe what I can suggest to Gretchen is taking all the suggestions, go back, kind of revamp the list, adding these additional ones, maybe reaching out to Krista and asking if there's any of the ability community. I mean, we can all Google, of course, but if there's anything particular that, is something significant that comes to mind, and bring that back.
Yeah, I like that. The other one that's missing is like just women. Is it Women's History Month or Women's? There was Women's Equality Day was very recently, I know, which is the anniversary of voting rights.
I think Women's History Month is March.
Yeah, And we don't have anything in March. Look at that.
There you
Perfect.
go.
I like it.
And what these, I think we can have some really good discussion as the year goes along around what the Human Rights Commission should be communicating around these. These are obviously like not our events. We're not sponsoring all of them, but we can play a role in helping to get the word out about things that are going on. There might be times where it's appropriate for the commission to like make a statement around the time of an event, and we as a task force, I think, can encourage the commission, you know, to do those kinds of things if we want to make like more of a, you know, a statement that year. But
Something that we do on our DEI council at work is we have like an event with speakers come based on the theme. And I think that they have a slightly different schedule than what you listed, but I think there's some overlap. So they don't do anything for January, but February is African American History Month. March is National Women's History. March 13th through April 15th is National Deaf History Month. Then May is Asian Pacific American Heritage. June is Pride. We don't have anything for July and August. And then we just did our Hispanic Heritage Month event. And in October, we celebrate Disability Employment Awareness. And November is National American Indian Heritage. So I was wondering if something we could do that's similar is maybe we can connect to a group that represents each of those holidays, and then either have them do like a training or like a presentation at our task force meeting, because that's already open to the public. And
I love that.
we did something similar at employment department when I was on their council. And I remember I should ask them who came and spoke, because the Asian Pacific Islander one was like phenomenal. They like talked about all these things that I was so unaware of. And it actually really helped me in my work, because I was interacting with a lot of folks from that community, and just the challenges that community is facing, some of like cultural norms that I just was completely ignorant on. It was really, really helpful. And it kind of made me think of me like when we had Bella do that trauma-informed training, you know, just things like that, that kind of just help us do our work. And then again, because it's open to the public, you know, anyone can come, and then that can just be something that we share with our little newsletters of like, hey, you know, these next 3 months, we're going to celebrate these things, or we're going to bring these speakers to do a training or whatever, because oftentimes those groups are happy to do like a 15-20 minute, like, here's what you need to know about this community kind of thing.
I love that. I almost wonder, one of the things that might be challenging from I'm thinking like I'm an outside user, I'm not a member of the commission perspective, is that we do have commission business that we need to do like at the beginning. And I almost wonder if we could schedule the speaker portion of it to start at like, you know, 20 minutes after, and actually advertise it to the groups as, you know, join the Human Rights Commission meeting at 7:20 for a presentation on da 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 da, you know, as an example. So it seems like there's merit there to like taking that approach. And I love the idea of using our commission meetings, especially while we're in this weird environment where they're broadcast, using them to actually send out information to the community rather than just commission business, because we have this platform where we can share all this goodwill and information. So I love that idea, Tricarico.
I think it would also be helpful for people who come, because I think sometimes people come and all we're doing is business, and they're kind of like, what, you know, and like, that's great. I love it when people come, but it can be kind of boring if they're not like directly involved. Whereas having that many presentation would be a little bit more substantive, I think, to someone who shows up and participates.
We could get new commissioners out of it.
How does the general public find out about these meetings? I mean, I know, I'd like to think I'm relatively informed about what's going on, but I don't see a lot of information out there about the Human Rights Commission or the task forces. And so how would people find out if they weren't looking for it?
Gretchen does have a pretty big list that gets emailed the agendas.
Okay.
But I think, to kind of to Tricarico's earlier point, it's pretty boring if you're an outsider coming in to go to one of our meetings. And so I don't think that people often come, they either join the commission because they see that there's work to do and want to kind of participate that way. But you don't see a lot of our visitors coming back for seconds unless they have a real specific agenda with us. And so, I mean, that might be one way that we want to, as an awareness task force, advise, our commission is to say,
Yeah.
hey, we think that these public meetings have merit, as a source of education and information for people, in addition to being a business meeting, and how can we make that work? But I don't think that the city doesn't Facebook about commission meetings or anything like that, do they?
Yes and no. I think it depends on, like, I know we do every week for council or every other week for council. But outside of that, I'm not sure what they generally do. One thing I do think, speaking of our communications, is I do know that the city puts out, it gets posted on social media, and I think it goes into inboxes of like things to do the next week in Salem, kind of like, this is what's happening, this is what's going on, like different public events, that sort of thing. So it may be an opportunity for us to use just the city platform of, at the next Human Rights Commission, this topic will be, there'll be a speaker from this community coming. That could be a suggestion because it's, cost effective and we have easy access to that. And I know that goes to, anyone who's on Facebook. And then if you're subscribed to our emails too. So that could be a suggestion.
What do y'all think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think, Tricarico, if you are willing to get a list of the speakers that you would acknowledge from your work, you said, that would be great, because maybe we could start that process of, scheduling or talking to them about what that looks like. If you guys want to, maybe bringing it up at the next commission meeting, Mike, of a suggestion of a work plan, kind of like, hey, we kind of want to bring people to speak. The ACT Force kind of thought that that would be a good tactic, and, providing a couple examples.
Yeah, I think that would be a great way to use our update during the broader meeting to start that discussion around, kind of making our meetings more engaging for the public to come in.
Totally.
Yeah, I love that. I may also be able to provide you with a list. We do a lot at SAFE as well. Or my work, as I would say. I forget I'm in YouTube.
You're in YouTube land. It's okay. Anyone could Google though. You know what I mean? That's the thing.
They can figure out where I work pretty easily.
Right.
But anyway, yeah. So I might have some suggestions as well.
That would be great.
And
And Gretchen probably has an infinite list as well.
Yeah, for sure. Were there other thoughts on developing the communication plan? Gretchen kind of noted in her note to me, like, in addition to some of these event-based communications, we'll have all the regular stuff that we did this year. Primarily this year, it was around the survey and then the survey results, but which we'll want to repeat next year. Any other thoughts on communication plan? Just a little side note on the video. We think that the participant who is willing to do a video for us might be back willing to do it again. So we're working on that on the side. Originally, the person was ready to go, and then they were feeling like it wasn't a good time. And then we talked about having somebody else read the script. We felt weird about that. Now the person is maybe considering it again. So we'll let you know in an upcoming meeting how that goes. Our next topic is around unsheltered outreach. And you'll recall that in our survey, the biggest takeaway from our survey was really that unsheltered people in our city are experiencing significant amounts of discrimination, much more than the general population. I don't know that any of us were super surprised by that, but it was definitely validated by the survey. But then in addition to that, that they had the lowest awareness of HRC as a resource. So Gretchen put together a list of thoughts around unsheltered outreach. And here's what she had to say. There are mechanisms to reach those who are unsheltered. A few examples come to mind. There's a newly formed group of youth and young adults, either currently unsheltered or with recent lived experience. There are nonprofits who work directly with people at shelters, managed camps, or through regular street outreach. Typical communication measures are possible. There is some access to news media and social media, but hard copy flyers or postings are often what's needed to reach that community. There are a couple of gatherings coming up of nonprofits who serve the unhoused. One idea would be to develop a message to share with them and enlist their help in spreading the words. There are likely other ideas, but that's what Gretchen wanted to offer as a place of beginning. So hearing that, what thoughts do you have around spreading awareness in the unsheltered community? I mean, I definitely think this is an area where we do need something printed that can actually be handed out, and maybe something I've often thought that something that this community might benefit from is something that's pretty durable, right? It's on that plastic coated paper that you can't tear. You know what I'm talking about? So that if they're traveling around and they need help, they've got a little card that's got information on it. But what thoughts do you have?
I think the message is going to be important because, I mean, there's not a lot. We want to know about incidents of discrimination, but there's not a lot we can do about it in the here and now. And so I think we want to make it clear to that community what our role is and what, you know, it's important for us to know to be able to address it long term, but we're not going to be able to provide services on a short term basis. That's what the other outreach groups are for. Yeah.
So really clarifying what HRC's role is. I remember there was a comment in the survey, and I don't know if it was something that one of the students brought forward or something that was listed in the actual survey results, but it had to do with this idea of we want the discrimination to stop happening. We don't necessarily want aftercare. In other words, we really want to not be discriminated against in the first place, rather than being sent to resources that we then have to put time and energy into those resources and getting the help, as it were. And I don't know that there's anything much to do with that piece of information, but it was one thing that really stuck out for me, which was that so often when people are suffering, we say, oh, how can we help? How can we help with your suffering? And the people in this instance, we're saying we'll make it not happen in the first place.
Mhm.
So that makes me wonder if there's kind of a twofold approach. One is, of course, making sure that we outreach with the resource to the community so they know that we're there. But then two, is there something we should do for all the sheltered people that makes them aware, of that here in Salem, I don't know, it's a tough message, but it's like here in Salem, we won't tolerate discrimination against our neighbors who are unfortunately don't have houses. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is really just like getting out there, which I know people probably don't want to do right now, and that's like another thing. So, looking at what events where we can connect with people. I know there's a lot of community-based like nonprofits and organizations that do regularly go out and, similar to like, I'm not being very eloquent right now. Just people that do go out and interact with the unsheltered community, if we have the opportunity to kind of tag along with them to be able to introduce like, hey, I'm so-and-so with the Human Rights Commission, just some simple as that, because honestly, I don't know how much they're gonna like even care about a handout. It's just like, what's the immediate way you can help me right now? Because they've got way too many things to think about. So I don't know if that's a pipe dream, because like I know I don't have time to do that. So
Yeah.
maybe more partnering with people and seeing how we can support the partners that are out there, so that when they hear something, they know how to direct people, I guess.
I think there are opportunities to get out there when they have, I mean, it's hard right now because a lot of the camps have been shut down, so people are scattered. I mean, there's not as many opportunities to communicate with a lot of people at one time, but there are groups that go out, and I think that there are opportunities to get the word out that the Human Rights Commission is here and what we're able to do.
I almost wonder if the crux of this is really embedded in a totally different conversation, which is the conversation that's happening with the work group on Chapter 97. That like, I think as a commission, maybe we need to do something that benefits that community before we can come and say, hey, we're this resource. Do you know what I mean? Like our credibility might be much higher if we said, hey, we recently worked to get housing status included in Salem's non-discrimination code. And this was important because, and if you experience discrimination, you can call us. Because to me, when I think about being a member of that community, which I can't even imagine, I don't think that any of us probably can unless we've been through it. It just seems like you can't come to the table and say, hey, here's another thing. Here's another resource you can call, because they've got options of places to call. I think what we heard a little bit in the survey is, don't give me another resource to call. Just please do something. So maybe the work that we're doing on Chapter 97 is kind of the key to be the gateway into the communication. What do you guys think about that? Am I just like pie in the sky, or?
I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, do we have any other thoughts on unsheltered communications tonight?
I will say, as a semi-outsider, Gretchen is worth her weight in gold, and she does work with the community partners day in and day out. And so I would just really, I think her goal is to get, in terms of getting the communication out there, would be what provides your task force the most bang for the buck. How many, like in terms of the number of people you can reach. And it is that delicate balance of providing another resource, yes, but you can also potentially reach more people that way. So it's kind of like quantity. So it's just one thing to consider, you know. She talks about, you know, reaching out to the nonprofits so probably Arches, right? Mid-Willamette Community Action Agency, you know, those are her partners that she deals with all the time. So I think if there's some way to kind of make that kind of bridge happen, I think honestly a lot of quality work could potentially get done. And then engaging in the conversation with that community of what do you need from us in terms of responsiveness? What, you know, we don't want to just be another card to you. What can we do? You know, I think hearing from that community might be worthwhile in terms of, you know, that maybe a potential option would be to ask her to have one of her community partners come and speak at the next, you know, task force meeting. What in your experience would be a good way to communicate with the population? That might be a suggestion, but
Yeah, I really like that too. Yeah. Well, it is definitely a challenge that I think has been put to our committee, but also to the broader HRC around how do we really get a better line of communication, you know, two-way with this community. And the survey was just a wonderful way to really elevate this issue. So I'm glad that we have that information now. We can move forward. Any other thoughts? I do think you're right. I think Gretchen can get us really connected with the community. And I still like the idea of us doing this important work on chapter 97. So when we come to the community, we can say, and also we've done something for you. We're not just one more thing.
right.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't know how the structure because I don't think I've subbed for that task force before, but I'm not sure if there would be an opportunity for these two task forces to have a co-meeting and kind of discuss and hash that out, or if that's more of a proper discussion for the full Human Rights Commission. I'm not sure procedurally how everything works in regards to that, but it might be smart to have that kind of cross conversation and then say what, you know, maybe bringing in that community partner during that joint meeting, right? And it's a twofer. I don't know if that makes sense.
It's all the same people.
I know, that's what I was thinking too.
Mike's like, I'm not going to interrupt her, but it's literally everybody. You're saying.
Yeah.
Well, we would
Okay.
adding Dr. Brown, of course.
Right.
Is there anybody else on your team, Tricarico, besides me and Dr. Brown?
I don't remember. I think Kathy might have come to one or expressed.
Me too.
Yeah, and also I was laughing. And I think maybe Bella, but I think Bella's technically a part of this too.
Right.
So I think it's like literally all the same people.
Maybe
So-
that's a signal that it should be at the big Human Rights Commission. We'll talk about it next. Well, I'll include that we had this discussion in my report out for awareness, and there will be an equity report out, I imagine, too. So we can kind of raise the issue, and we can probably just get it on a future full commission agenda.
Yeah.
because they're very connected in my mind, and especially with that information from the survey that indicates that the unsheltered population isn't looking for one more resource. That just sticks with me so much. I think we need to show them some action.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have anything else on that. Do we have any member remarks and announcements tonight? Well, if that is all, I think we can call it good for tonight, and we'll be back with the full commission meeting in like a week and a half or something. Yeah. All right.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you, everyone.